So welcome to my YouTube channel. That's what we call the good life. I really can't believe it's December and we've had a whole 12 months of sowing, planting and harvesting. It's been absolutely fantastic. And even though you think there isn't anything you can do this month, there are some really fantastic things you can be planting and sowing, which I will run through in this video. I'm also going to be telling you about something that I love to do in December and it's really easy and quick to get rewards from. I'm also going to be telling you about a company, it's a charity that actually gives away a free bundle of seeds every single year for people that apply. It's a really amazing charity that's just trying to encourage well-being through growing and enjoying eating your own food and sharing it with others. So don't forget to stay tuned to the end because I will talk about that then. And I know there's lots of you that have been watching me all year and I really appreciate you, so thank you so much for doing that. If you feel that you've got value out of my channel, we do something called Buy Me a Coffee, and it'd be really fantastic if you could just buy me a coffee. There will be a link up on the screen and there will be one in the description. And obviously if you're new and you haven't subscribed, please do make sure you do, so you'll get lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my allotment, my home garden and from time to time my home kitchen. Now let's get cracking with what you can be doing. So I'm up my allotment at the moment. One of the things you can be doing, if you haven't done already and you haven't got enough in your allotment already, although we can never really have enough, are fruit trees and bushes. So you can obviously buy them in pots or you can buy bare root varieties, all of which are absolutely perfect things to be popping in your plot this time of the year. I put some blueberries in last year and had a really amazing crop. Even though I only put them in last year, I was really amazed, even though I put them in quite late in the season, quite how many blueberries I got off of them. So they're really worth doing, as are black currants, red currants, gooseberries, which I've got on my plot. I've got apple trees, there's plum trees, there's all sorts of amazing things you can be growing. And the great thing about things like that is once they're on your plot, you get them all year round. And even when they're not producing anything, I've got jams, I've got things in my, I've got frozen fruit in my freezer, and I've got compots that I've made up that are frozen. So they do produce a lot of fruit that you can eat all throughout the year, and obviously you can preserve it too. Something I've got in the ground already, and if you've not already got it in the ground, December is your last month to do it, are your overwintering onions. So there are some really lovely overwintering varieties, some Japanese ones, Radar is another one, but if you go to your local garden centre, they'll have the overwintering varieties there, and I've just popped in onion sets, and they come a little bit earlier than the spring planting varieties that you put in. And everyone thinks, obviously onions are ready when they flop over, but if an onion is a decent size, you can pick it out of the ground anytime. You don't have to wait for it to flop over if you need an onion now. Obviously it's too soon now, they've only just started, but they are looking really lovely, and I do intend to pop a little bit of mulch around those in the next week or two. And moving over onto garlic, which is another absolutely fantastic thing to be growing this time of year. I've got two types in here. I've got white Casablanca and pink Thermidor, which are absolutely fantastic for overwintering. They are incredibly versatile garlic. We use them for so many things. And once they've obviously formed and you've harvested them, you can dry them, you can freeze them. I actually opt now on the side of freezing them because I never get through them quite quick enough and they start to sprout. So if you break them up and you can pop them in the freezer and then you can just use them as and when you need them. But it's an absolutely fabulous crop. If you don't know how to sow garlic, rather than me talking about it too much in depth here, I have already done a really fantastic video for you to be able to watch, so you can get some top tips on how to get a really good crop of garlic. There will be a link up on the screen and there will be one also in the description to help you with that. So we're now back in my home garden, in my greenhouse. I've got some things in here that I've started off and you can be starting off too. Broad beans are a really great thing to start off this time of year. You must make sure you get an overwintering variety. Aqua Dulce, they do a Super Aqua Dulce and also a Aqua Dulce Claudia, which are much more hardy than the other varieties, and which probably wouldn't go through the winter months. I generally start mine off in my greenhouse only because they easily get get nibbled if you put them straight into the ground. But you have two choices. You can pop them in module trays like this and then plant them out once they've started off, or you can just pop the seeds straight into or the beans straight into your allotment if you want to. If it's particularly cold, it's worth covering them with fleece. So when I pop these out, I will no doubt give them a little bit of protection, which I do intend to do quite soon. The other thing you can do is you can do overwintering peas. Again, the same thing with broad beans. Make sure you go for an overwintering variety because they possibly won't make it through the winter. I've already started some off here. I generally soak all my peas and all my beans overnight, and I'm going to pop these straight into the ground in my greenhouse. They are, although you can get overwintering varieties, they're a little bit more delicate generally than the broad beans, that are a lot more hardy. Last year I did my overwintering ones in my greenhouse here, actually up the other end, of which I'm going to do now. So I'm just going to pop these in the ground. You can either pop them in with a dibber, or you can just do a little trowel like I'm doing now and just pop them in the ground. So I'm just going to pop these in. I'm not too fussy with how I do them, I've got to say. I just gently sprinkle them in. I'm sure you should do them so many apart. You've got two choices with these. You could either just use them as the shoots and just eat the shoots, or you can wait for the peas to come along in the spring. But I did this last year and had them in my greenhouse, and I had a really early variety of peas, much earlier than I would have done had I put them outside, so it was well worth me doing it. So I thought with the success that I had last year, I was going to replicate that and do the same. Now obviously we don't need to water as much as usual, but you do need to make sure that everything is well watered. I shall pop the rest of those in later, but peas are definitely worth, and so lovely to get fresh peas, and also the pea shoots as well. So something else you can be doing this time of year, which we often all forget about, are herbs. I have a whole range of herbs that are very hardy in my garden and on my allotment, so you can obviously source some plants and pop them out, and obviously make sure that they are acclimatised to outside before you do that. So check with your garden centre whether they can go straight out. You normally can tell, because if they're out in their outdoor space, you know you can put them in your outdoor space. You can obviously start things off from seed as well, but that would obviously be indoors. So there's all sorts of things you can do. I've got parsley, I've got coriander, there's basil, there's all sorts of things you can be starting off indoors. And also, and don't feel ashamed if you go and buy a plant. I sometimes just pick up a pot of something and pop it on my windowsill. Everyone thinks you have to start everything from seed, but you don't have to. Some of my established outdoor herbs are where I've picked up a pot and I've popped it in the ground. My sage, my bay, I've got various things out there, whereas other things like my parsley, I genuinely start off from seed in the summer and it's still out in my Subpod now, still providing me with parsley. So there's all sorts of ways you can get your herbs. One, start them off from seed, which you can do that, which I do some, and also go to your local garden centre and do that too. The other thing you can be putting out are lettuce. Everyone always thinks that lettuce is a very summer thing, and most of them, to be fair, are. So again, a bit like your peas, a bit like your broad beans, make sure you make good choices with what you sow this time of year, or if you buy small plants. Rocket is one of my favourites, incredibly hardy, and if you get the wild rocket, it just keeps growing and growing and growing. There's corn salad, which is another really popular one, Mizuno, red mustard streaks. There's all sorts of different overwintering ones you can do. I would generally start things off like that on a windowsill or in my greenhouse rather than put them out. You can start some of those things outside and put cover over them, a little bit of fleece or something, but if you've got the benefit of a greenhouse, and personally I would go down that. And again, if you see some plants, you can do that too. And even if they don't produce a lot going through the winter, if you get them through the winter, you'll get a much earlier flourish early in the spring as well. So there really are lots of things you can be doing. So we're now in my kitchen and we're going to be running through my last few things that I sow, including my favourite item for December, and I'm also going to be telling you about the charity that gives away free seed bundles in the spring. So something you can be starting off this time of year, either on your windowsill or in a greenhouse, are microgreens. So microgreens are really fun and easy and quick, and microgreens can consist of anything. all you're doing is just growing small little leafy plants, and then you harvest them, and either you put them in salads or you can put them in risottos. You can just use them for all sorts of things, and they're incredibly nutritious. Now I've got some here. I've actually got a mixed pack of microgreens, which are a mixture of different things. So you can actually buy pre-prepared microgreens, but you can also use seeds that you've had knocking around for a long while. So things like herbs, basil, mustard oriental I've got here, I've got chicory, I've got some pak choi. They're all excellent microgreens. If you've got packets of old brassica seeds, whether it's Brussels, kale, cauliflowers, you name it, if you've got a glut of old seeds that are out of date that you're not sowing, you can sow them as microgreens and eat them that way. So it's a really good way of using up old seeds that you're possibly not going to use, and also a way of giving you some quick growing edibles in the colder months. Some people use carrot and they just use the leaves. Some people do beetroot, chard. All sorts of things can be microgreens. There really is, you know, the world is your oyster. You can use whatever you've got, spare seeds that you possibly won't be using the following year. So these, you start off in just little seed trays with just a little bit of compost, and you just let them sprout. So you can either have them on your windowsill or you could have them in your greenhouse, whatever works best for you. There's also the good old-fashioned cress and mustard, which we all used to do as a child, and they are still really tasty and really fun to do, and you get, again, a quick flourish of something to put in salads or sandwiches and that sort of thing. So I've got some mustard there, and I've got some cress there as well. Now, one of my favourite things that I really love doing are sprouting seeds. So that's kind of like one down from microgreens, really. I've got a little kit here. I've seen people do it with jam jars, and if I'm really honest with you, I tried using the jam jar method, but it never really succeeded. And one of the reasons I'm demonstrating is because I've seen people do it and they've not got it quite right. What I've done is I've soaked them overnight. Now, all you do is soak your sprouting seeds overnight. You don't leave them in there until they sprout, which is one of the biggest mistakes I've seen. I've got two varieties that I soaked overnight. I've got fenugreek and I've also got alfalfa. There's all sorts of different things you can sprout. Some people sprout chickpeas, mung beans. Again, all sorts of things can be sprouted, but it's really fun and it's really quick. So I've soaked them in a container. And then all you need to do is you just need to drain them. So I'm going to pop them in here and just drain them like so, if they will come out. So one of the good reasons about using an actual sprouter is that you can drain them through it. So there we go. Let's get them in there. Give them a rinse, like so. Spread them out roughly evenly, and then you just pop them in there. I could do 2 trayfuls if I wanted to, and then you just pop the lid on like that. Each day, all you do is just give them a rinse. So as we just drained them, so say tomorrow, I'll take them off. I'll run a little bit of fresh water over them to keep them clean, because if you don't keep running fresh water over them, they can go mouldy, and you obviously don't want that. So each morning, put a little bit of fresh water over them, and within a few days you'll have sprouted seeds, and you, again, incredibly nutritious, really quick. You know, within about, say, 3 days, you'll have sprouting seeds that you can eat, and like I say, add to salads, sandwiches, stews, risottos, all sorts of things. So I hope you found that useful, and let's move on to the free seed bundle I've been talking about. Now, I found out about this company some years ago through a business contact. They're a fantastic company, and they're trying to promote well-being through growing, which obviously we all know that not only is it good for your body, it's good for your mind to be growing things as well. The company are called Cultivating Change. Now, I will be putting a link up on the screen and also one in the description to register for the free seed bundle. All you need to do is click on the link and click on the apply button and fill out your details. When you click on the link, do be mindful you can register for the newsletter, which is absolutely fantastic, and I do that too, but make sure you actually click on the apply button as well, and that's the bit that tells you tells you the bit about the seeds and how it works. Now, anyone can apply for it. I've got an allotment. The idea is that it improves your health and well-being well-being, and then you then share what you've got with people that you know. So I often share my seeds with people, I share the plants that I grow, I share the produce that I buy. So it's a way of helping other people help other people. Now, I do hope you found that useful, and don't forget to click on the link and get your free seeds.